Calling the Audit Committee meeting to order. This is Commissioner Kwiatkowski, Chair of the committee. First agenda item is approval of the agenda. Does anyone have anything that they want added? Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Can we have approval of the minutes? Does anybody have anything that they wish to have changed in the minutes?
No, so moved.
Second.
Okay, acceptance, approval of the minutes. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Please
Madam
note.
Chair,
Yes.
can we get a roll for the record? Just
Oh.
who's, yeah.
Yes, would everybody please introduce themselves? Pat Kwiatkowski, Commissioner, Chair of the committee.
Janine Richmond, Vice Chair.
Jeff Tansel.
Mark Fleschauer?
Absent, Tony Schiavone, and the alternate, Mike Thelmley, sorry, Mike Thelmley.
Okay.
Please note there are no members of the public at the meeting. Next agenda item, election of chair and vice chair for the upcoming calendar year. We can do this by general nomination and voice vote, or we could do it by a written ballot if you so choose. I'm fine either way,
I move we just simply do a voice vote.
okay?
Second.
Okay. Consensus? Consensus. Do we have a nomination for chair?
Could I move that we just re-elect the slate that we just elected to simplify this matter?
I second that.
You knew that
I
one.
knew that was going to happen, yes. If that is satisfactory to Janine as the vice chair, I can accept being chair again.
Yes, I
So-
accept.
All right? Then consensus, the chair for this year will continue to be Pat Kwiatkowski, and Janine will continue to be the vice chair. Setting of the 2023 meeting dates. I think this is going to be a little bit more difficult right at the moment. Last year, when we met, our first meeting was in April, and we scheduled a July meeting to meet with, coincided with Martin and Starnes representative being on site. And then we also had her feedback on when she would expect to have a discussion when the external audit document was completed. I'm, at this point, sort of assuming that sometime in July would still be appropriate to have a meeting, and at the end of October. But until we contract with our firm for the external audit, it's going to be a little bit difficult to precise dates.
Pat, for the, you said we had an April one last year.
That was our first one last year, yeah.
Yeah, do anybody recall what that was, what the topics were?
The topics were selection of the chair and the vice chair, and the vice chair. It was to discuss our meetings, when we were going to meet. There was another topic, but it wasn't anything, as I recall.
Powers and duties of the audit committee.
That's right, because we redid the audit committee ordinance.
So we really don't have any of those on the table this time.
No, so our meetings should be really scheduled around the presence of the auditor for either the pre-planning conference meeting or when they're here for some field work, and then when the final document for submission to LGC is prepared. So if we have any questions, and then we prepare the recommendation to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay. So for the April one, it sounds like we're not
I don't
Can't
think
set
we,
that.
I don't think we have anything to discuss for April. And again, I don't think that until we pick our audit firm, we can really get those, that summer date and that October date firm. David, is it your opinion that it's premature to right now to set those like summer and fall dates until we have the firm in place?
Date specific, yes, but time frame is, I think that's appropriate. That's, I think those timeframes are appropriate for the.
That last
The
week,
integration of the audit with the audit committee's efforts. I mean, if at this time y'all wanted to make your availability known, then you could probably, whenever the auditors did, tell them that that's part of the deliverable schedule
because we can at least Zoom
Yeah.
if they're not on site. Well, last year, we met that last week of July and the very end of October. I think if we gave our availability for the last 2 weeks of July, and again that last week of October, meaning I would say the 23rd through the 31st, that last part of October, if you could give Heather your availability for that, and then,
Many of us don't know our availability for the month
Yeah.
of July until sometimes, it's touch and go, and I suggest it'd be fruitless for me to put down, because my calendar right now is reasonably open, but it fills up real quick, July especially with
that's why
9
it's,
grandchildren. and-
that's why it's always nice to try to get a commitment so it gets in the calendar. And again, I think that knowing that we need a quorum, but if there can be an absentee, if something comes
And I
up.
think it may be the importance that we seek out an alternate that
Yes.
can attend regularly would help as well.
Yes, so understanding that July for a lot of people is, may get compromised in a couple months. Still, could people, as of now, what their calendar says, give Heather availability the last 2 weeks of July and between the 23rd and the 31st of October?
I'm blocked out.
For October?
No, July,
And I probably am too.
I could be available Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Define the last 2 weeks, because the 31st is a Monday.
The week of the 17th and the week of the 24th.
Okay.
Just-
I'll make it known to Heather right now that I'm available the 26th through the 28th, that's all, that's.
I have no problem with those dates.
I can make those work.
I'll just block them out.
And I'm iffy. Well, I know we're going away for one of those weeks, but I don't know when yet.
Okay, we'll ask Tony his availability, and any other business, we will address the alternate. And are there any problems, so far in advance, but the 23rd through the 31st of October?
I should be good.
I'm good the 25th through the 31st.
October.
That's fine with me, too.
What? I just have a conflict on the 26th right now.
Jack?
I'm good.
Okay, so Right now, we've got the 25th, 27th, 30th, and 31st. Because we'll communicate with Tony to see what he has available.
Does our request for quote on this, David, include availability of at least a senior member of the team? And will they be, do we allow them to participate by remote, or do they have to be
Yeah.
here physically to participate in those discussions?
I think that we did it both ways last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jan-
the members of you guys have to be. here,
Right.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody call in, that's.
Okay,
fine.
so that's
Yeah,
fine.
Elsa,
Okay.
Elsa zoomed in last time
Okay.
in October, so.
Okay.
And she just happened to be on site in the July meeting, and that's why we set it for
Okay.
when we did. But yeah, they can zoom in, so we just have to be here. Okay. Heather, did you get those dates?
Yes.
So we can ask Tony for his availability?
Yeah.
Can we hone in on a day out of all of those that at least?
I think once Heather asks Tony, we can get it, but we need to know
No,
Tony.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but, because I hate to block out.
Well, we can ask Tony as soon as soon as possible, and Heather, can you get back to us then, what's today? Monday. Can you get back to us by the end of the week if Tony gets
Day
back to you?
before Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that we can pick a date?
Yes.
Okay, so by the end of the week, Mark, we should have,
Okay.
okay?
And are we back to a 10 o'clock meeting time? Or is,
Well, we try to do it in the morning. We'll try to do it in the morning
Okay.
if it's a problem, and we have to change it, but we can try to do it in the morning, 10 or 10:30.
okay.
Okay. All right, then let's move on to the selection of the audit firm to propose to the Board of Commissioners, using our selection criteria process. I was not the chair the last time we did this. I think Woody was. So I filled it out the way I thought it should be filled out, but I think discussion-wise,
Yeah, but I think,
we should have some discussion about.
well, we also discussed as part of the process, the weighting of the various factors and the like. And I think the last time, whoever, Martin Starnes, was pretty clearly, there was a pretty huge gap between them and the next one in terms of total points. Meaning that the weighting, we didn't really have to have much debating on the weighting, to be honest with you, but I think we can talk through the form first and then maybe review the weighting again, just based on the way this is going. I think what makes this one up front particularly difficult is just the gap in the total cost. I mean, it is not de
Insignificant,
minimis.
yes.
It's a pretty sizable gap, and,
I can also say from the last time we did this, we had 3 new firms, I believe. I don't think, yeah, we did.
Yeah, 'cause the
3 of
existing
them, there may be
firm
more
was-
than 3, as I recall. But, and they were all starting from scratch, so they were all pretty much supplied the same amount of information. We obviously don't have that here with what Martin Starnes supplied.
I wish we had a third one in there.
But we
How
don't.
many bids did you send out?
I mean, we only received 2 back.
I know,
The
but-
ones-
but
I mean,
you
we
saw-
solicit one time to
Yeah.
the manager's listserv, and it's not manager, finance officer's listserv, and then to,
The newspaper, like,
Mhm.
people reviews
Yeah,
and
so
that,
it's-
so they're-
Well, again,
it's out
Did
there.
it in the past.
we have known that the number of audit firms is getting swamped with, the need for so many audits and more complicated audits. We didn't expect to have oodles and gobs I'm glad we got two.
Is there history with Sharp Patel? Is that one of the firms that split off? And
We have Jay Sharp with Reeves and Associates. Jay Sharp was actually the manager who was in charge of the town of Holden Beach audits for 3 years. Jay was professional at his presentations. He answered questions fairly. I do not know the other partner for the firm, Patel, but he is not listed as the person who would be the lead for our town. I did call two of the towns that were given as Sharp Patel references, the city of Clinton and the city of Benson. The finance officer, city of Clinton, had nothing but good experience with Sharp Patel, was very positive about their abilities, very timely, good to work with. Their cost estimates and time estimates for the audit have been solid. City of Benson, the town manager, who used to be the finance officer and now city manager, Jay being her contact, has said very professional, helpful. Work from the firm has been excellent. During and outside the audit period, they're always prompt and helpful. Again, cost estimates provided have been accurate. Town manager of the city of Benson does not recall ever going over the provided cost estimates, and neither town has had any problems with the audit at an LGC level.
so this isn't one of the partners that lost their license?
The only person, my understanding is, it was only one of the heads of the firm that lost their license.
But it was this firm?
No, it
No.
was not this firm.
Okay.
It was the firm that Sharp and Patel
Split off
and
from.
split off and formed their own
Just
firm.
as a note, Sharp and Patel is still embroiled in litigation,
With Reeves,
yeah, with,
well, with the successor company, yes. There was a situation that's been reported about their leaving the firm and taking clients. So there has been an agreement put in place about what % of their profit they need to give to the old firm for the first couple years of their existence, and that is still an ongoing discussion.
well, they're arguing over
Yes.
the fees and the,
They're arguing as well, as I recall, over
well,
the
through the courts,
firm.
it's all the way up.
It's in
to
the courts.
appellate courts.
They're also arguing about who is the accounting firm that will do the calculations. That has nothing to do with their ability as an audit firm, but it is still in place. I don't really know how that fits with the selection criteria.
It's just
It's just a point.
background.
It's still there.
So, I mean, Pat, jump in my opinion on this. The thing that concerned me about Patel, and I didn't know the background on that, but the list that they had on there, you named probably the only 3 towns in there that were of any significance. The others were schools and way below what the town's gonna probably bring to the table. The dollar amount is, there's a big gap there. As I look at what the town has been spending on the pier and all these properties and all this is a drop in the bucket in terms of the difference between the two.
True, but that's,
I know it's our job to
It's,
yeah,
be,
we're,
I mean,
fiduciary
if you
service.
made that rationale, I mean,
yeah,
it's,
but, well, my point is going to, with that dollar amount, then you gotta think about, and, you know, from the town standpoint and, you know, town manager and his team and so forth, how much extra time are they gonna take with a new firm and all that, realizing that as an accounting firm, they probably should be rotating people anyway and kind of starting from scratch, Martin Starnes if we chose them. But I just wonder if that difference is enough to start, again, from scratch, with a much smaller firm and a much smaller staff.
Well, the staff that likely will be dealing is the same size. Usually these firms go out with 3 or 4 person teams with an office review now. And I guess I'm still a little bit confused how they get by this, what was formerly our, for a few $1,000s, how they get this extra review that allows them to say that they're not doing our final financial statement presentation because they have to have a separate branch of the firm, which I assume is the other partner or another manager in the firm that oversees the process. But they still have, it was part of our request for quote, that they do be involved in the preparation and preparation of the final statements, so.
Yeah, I mean, on the list of clients for Sharp Patel, 3 towns, Benson, Pittsburgh, Goldson, basically followed the 2 partners. They gave their business to the 2 partners. City of Clinton, City of Creedmoor, Wilson Mills, and Town of Indian Beach have been since the split off. So it's, yeah, their amount of work for municipalities, it is true, it is not as extensive. But again, the 2 towns that I called were highly complementary. So a smaller group doesn't necessarily mean that they don't deliver. If they had this small of a group and had 50 municipalities, I would probably be more concerned. So,
I think I recall last time when we did the RFP, they were so new splitting off that we didn't think they had the depth, and that really hurt them in the scoring.
yes, again, I wasn't part of the audit committee then, but I do remember that discussion with the board. They were too new, had too few staff, and it was a question whether or not they had the depth to do audits for more municipalities. I don't think that that's a question today.
All right. But this litigation is not good if they're going to lose part of their profit and it's going to have to go to the old firm. It could affect their ability to perform and deliver us.
Not from what I read.
Okay,
Not from what I read. It's through 2022, the calculations are being done. They did have to, there was some sort of financial confirmation that they had to go through, that they would be able to, if necessary, borrow the money up to a certain limit. I mean, you can never be absolutely certain, but again, it's an ongoing argument about what the absolute number is, as I read it.
Well, actually, the appellate court upheld the consent agreement that pretty much established that their current record of liability is close to $400,000.
Right.
wow.
And their contention was $100,000, but that was probably low because that was based on fees received as opposed to fees,
Right.
which are.
And their original, whatever it was they had to do, was to cover up to $500,000. So again, yeah, you're right, it's somewhere near $400,000 that's being claimed. At this point in time, that number, I think, will continue to be the number.
A lot of suppliers are hungrier than other suppliers for providing goods or services. David, is this three-year contract binding, or can either side withdraw? It pretty much is year to year in reality, and
They give a 3-year quote, and then the board reviews it and readopts it each year. So it's year to year,
but would they be, but what if they came back next year and said, well, we really need an extra 10 grand? I guess that would free us up from the right to continue to deal with them.
Well, I mean,
Or is there anything in that, because I don't know that we actually see the actual contract that you sign.
yeah, the
Board
sees-
does.
The board does.
The
yeah.
the question is, are we bound to use them for 3 straight years? I know that the actual cost is only binding the first year, the cost estimate.
And each year it's a separate contract. It
So
comes back
if,
before the
Okay,
board.
that's-
so if we choose to, after 1 year or 2 years, not continue, there is no problem,
Yes.
correct?
I mean, the Physical Control Act only lets the board obligate for a year at a time.
How many single audits do you anticipate we'll need this year? I only point it out because this quote includes up to 2, and this one's only 1.
Well,
Wait,
for sure, the wrap-up on the FEMA is one, and then most likely there'll be EPA money for the sewer lift station through a state and local tribal grant, and possibly
Are they over $500,000?
the STAG grant's 2.7 million.
Okay, that's over half.
And then those other 2 federal appropriations are done through the Corps of Engineers budget, so we don't see that. So 2 is probably the number.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not recollecting any state grant that, well, we are gonna.
Parks and Rec.
Where we do have the $600,000, or the $500,000 reimbursement for the Carter Fund.
Mhm.
And then there are, that we know of right now, that's 3 off the cuff. And then there are potentially some more, substantially, that would go over the $500,000. But those haven't been eyed yet, affirmed yet.
If I look at this, I think, as I interpret the Martin Starnes, the number that they give, the 36,975, you have to add 3,750 for the 2, for up to 2 single audit fees. So that puts us right about 40,000. The Sharp Patel, they have one
One.
single audit already, and if there is an additional one, it will be an additional 2,500,
Right.
okay?
That's
So-
what I'm just trying to,
Yeah, so again, it's, and I mean, I think the question, clearly, Sharp Patel, their costs, they've been presented in terms of hours, they've been presented in terms of monetary. You can see what they are charging for each base audit, financial statement prep, a single audit, the AFER. Their costs to prepare these things are considerably less. It's a smaller firm. It's probably not as much overhead, things like that. The question then becomes, are they equally qualified? In terms of, the people who are gonna be working in the town. They gave us their information, the information was sound. So I think what we're talking about is, do we feel comfortable with their level of qualification to go ahead and transfer, or do we not? Again, I've had experience with Jay Sharp as a board member, and I've spoken to 2 municipalities who gave him very high marks for professionalism and work, you know, the working together, good working relationships. Martin Starnes, we know, again, they're very solid. We have a good working relationship with them as well. If it were a 20% cost difference, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
But when were doing this RFP the last time, we had major concerns with the prior firm. They weren't delivering on time, and I guess we have had Martin Starnes deliver on time. So was Sharp the firm that wasn't delivering on time? Does
No,
anybody
Sharp did
know?
not exist.
Well, before them, Reeves, was that the firm not delivering on time?
Reeves, we had problems with them one year,
Okay.
that we actually submitted late, yes. That was Reeves and Associate, and frankly, I think some of the internal turmoil that their firm was going through probably contributed to that.
We had I think it was a Florence year too, that
Yeah,
caused all kinds of,
we were
I-
late.
but, yeah.
Well, it still seems like they have some turmoil going on at their firm,
Yeah,
just to be honest.
well, and, I mean, ultimately, we're only providing a recommendation here. Keep that in mind, but, I think,
So I know the last time we went through point by point, and we sort of all decided based upon what we were given in these presentations, what the score would be. And do we want to do that?
yeah, I don't have those. All right. Can you get any smaller print? This is.
This was Blaine's, or Tony, I think Tony did it, we'll blame it on him because he's not here. Does anybody else need a copy of?
I actually brought that. Thank you. So if we start with the first one, the municipal audit experience, I mean, I think we've already touched on it, that Sharp Patel does not seem to be as strong, but I guess we need to put scores in here.
I
When
did
you
mine
s-
on a scale of 1 to 10.
That's what we say the raw score was, 0
Right.
to 10.
That may be, Heather and I had this conversation that, again, this is a prior audit committee's document, and to the weighting that, you know, this is somebody else's work. If y'all want to use that, that's fine.
That was our intent.
Okay.
That was our intent when we discussed
You
this.
don't necessarily have to agree with, we can re-rate, because I think
Well, I think the committee, except for Pat, was all the same. So we all put it
Oh.
together.
Oh. I think the question is, where do you focus? What are the most important things for us this time? We know Martin Starnes.
Well, let's bring it
We
down
can
to
go
form
through
and just see where we come on this different thing.
Yeah, so the first, I think, Martin Starnes is the strongest.
Yeah. So you give them a relative score of, score 10, 9, 8, whatever you put as the base. I don't know that, they have a lot of statewide coverage, and so let's, even if we give them a raw score of 10, then what's the relative score? 0 would be no experience at all.
I put him at a 5. That's how I rated it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I don't know. I'd
I-
probably be in the 6 or 7
I was
range.
kind of in the 7 range, because I thought they have experience, they have experience, and they have some towns that have been working with Sharp for quite a while. Okay,
Does
that
6
went with
sound like a
him.
compromise?
6 sounds like a good compromise. So
And
10?
by the way, I didn't have your background with Sharp
I-
to do this. I looked at the fact of how many schools were on there relative to municipalities.
Right.
Yes. We don't know what these other firms do outside the scope of governmental accounting work. I mean,
Okay.
Do we recall?
so what are we agreeing on there?
6 is fine.
6 is,
So are you guys, last time you guys did this, I mean, we could do it like that if you want to all agree together. Last time you guys all did it individually and then we averaged your guys' individual score to come up
I-
with a score to weight, but however you, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
I'm doing what you
I,
guys are
you know,
doing.
I think this might be the best way to work through it, particularly given not everybody had the advantage of having the Martin Starnes 2019 document to look at.
So to just come up with it together?
We will, yes, we will come up with it together. Okay?
So I'm sorry, did you put that on either of those ones?
It was 10 versus 6.
Okay.
Peer review, both of them are involved in the AICPA. They participate.
Well, I know that at least Patel had their peer review
Mhm.
letter in there, so I mean, this is just a
I gave them both.
checker.
Yeah.
Whatever
Checker.
score we give them, I think you can't pretty much distinguish one from the other.
I had a 10 and a 10.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
I
yeah.
agree.
So it's, yeah, they were equal. They're each worth 5 points, I guess.
Oh, 5 and 5.
But
Yeah, I'm just doing points. But you're right, if it's a
if you
10.
do it on 1 to 10.
Yeah, if it's a
the-
10, then, yeah, it's,
If it's a 10, then
yeah,
the weighted score will take care of
correct,
that.
yes. Okay. References, reputation, review. Again, without the 2019 document, you couldn't tell. They had an extensive list back in 2019 of potential references.
Mhm.
And of course, 3 were given by Sharp Patel and said that they would provide additional upon request. As I said, I called 2 of them, you know, so,
Well, you're ahead of me on that one there. And Martin Starnes had some list in that PowerPoint. I don't have that with me, but
mhm.
I thought they did.
Oh, they have an extensive
Yeah.
references. and
Yeah,
So I put them as a 10 in terms of,
It's just how you do the relative,
I gave Sharp Patel an 8, coming from a background where 3 references is considered to be a good number. You know, it's like if you have 3 references, it's a good, and you offer more, it's a good starting number.
yeah, if you don't have 3, you shouldn't even be
Correct, correct.
submitting. But I had them at a 3 again because I didn't know the thing about Sharp before. And again, just looking at the size towns relative to the size municipalities that Martin Starnes would have come in with, there would be a big gap.
Yeah, the references aren't as strong.
yeah, I'm closer to the higher end, 7 or 8 again, so.
Right, I could do 7.
So where are you?
Well, I'm
He's already
looking
had
at, I'm
3,
looking at
so-
what they submitted last time with, Hickory and Lexington, and I mean, it's fairly larger towns, and there's quite a, we said they gave 3, these guys last time gave 2, 4, 6, like 12 of them. So, I was looking at that gap, but I also didn't get the references themselves or hear from them, so I.
See, again, what I know of the towns that, Martin Starnes, they do a tremendous number of municipalities and counties. It's their bread and butter. What I know of the municipalities that Sharp Patel is doing, Benson, Pittsburgh, those are actively growing municipalities. They're going to have quite a bit of stuff going on that, can cause some complexity as they grow. I know when I spoke to Benson, the town manager who had been the finance officer said they handled the complexity well when, one year, the town decided to split the general fund into multiple funds that would be separate now. So again, it's how well do they handle new situations? So.
I just think a 10 to an 8 that's not much of a gap at all.
Well,
No, that's fine, I mean,
you were saying 7.
Well, it's a group decision.
Yes, I know, that's what I'm saying is we
The
got,
current references are on page 8 and 9 for,
did I miss?
Well, that's the old one, right?
no.
No,
that's
the
that
new,
is-
where is 7, 8?
That's all the.
I
don't have an 8, 9.
Counties.
It might not have scanned through then.
I didn't get all this.
That was,
I did not, remember when I told you I had a problem opening a document? Then I got a PowerPoint presentation from them,
yes.
so did the,
and then I got their short financial part, but I did not get all of
well,
this.
let me go copy it, let's go see.
I
I
didn't,
gotta take
I
it,
didn't get it.
I didn't
either.
get
I
all.
gotta take it apart.
Okay,
I'm
that's fine.
sorry.
See, I didn't get that.
That
You probably
was-
got this part of it then.
I got this part of it, and I got their PowerPoint
I
presentation.
just got through, page 8 is all that was scanned through.
Yeah, this is all we got.
Okay.
There's our
Yeah.
confusion. There's our confusion. We didn't get,
I was wondering why you were looking at the old,
because I didn't get the 8 pages of the,
well, that's all I got too, I just read through the thing
How
online.
much was there after that?
a lot,
Yeah, that was a lot larger than second.
a lot.
Okay.
Because I'll be honest with you, I had Patel come out higher when I rated them, but it was really because of the quality of Martin
Well,
Starnes.
that was part of my, okay, so we apparently didn't get 2/3 of the Martin
All
Starnes,
right, so we can't knock them on
the thoroughness,
just us not getting
right.
it in the email. All right,
Although I used the previous one when I ranked them, so.
you're good.
So reference and reputation review, we're kind of at a,
We could probably skip some of these and go to the ones that we,
Well, we gave them a 10 though. I thought
Yeah.
we were giving them a 10, so I mean, this extra
But that's probably not
reference
gonna
thing
change
isn't,
that.
isn't
Yeah.
gonna benefit them anymore. We're back onto how,
we're back on
what's the
what do you
relative
give the
Right.
relative
value of the
number.
references of,
yeah.
What should the disparity be, I
Do
guess?
do you want to concede at 5 for average?
You can go higher if you feel comfortable with that.
5 or 6.
Let's
Go-
give
go
him,
with a 6.
let's go with a 6. Okay, we'll tell
I,
him.
yeah, because it's not only, yeah, I mean, if, what are we counting as the experience of the partners themselves who've been 20 years in the business and had many more. Okay, well, it's 6, okay. I guess we shouldn't do the weighting yet until we decide on what we're gonna.
Well, the weighting should be regardless of what
Sort
we
of a
see.
break-even thing,
That's
right?
just what we think is important without looking at
If we needed to,
anything else.
yeah. All right, so the next professional certification, education, and experience.
So that's a problem, and maybe it's in there, but they didn't give anything.
I hope it's in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's in there.
It's
It's
in
in
there. Is it like the 2019 document with it,
I haven't looked at the 2019 document, but they went through
every person?
RFP and one.
They're all CPAs that are on, that are,
I think they've got some staff accountants
that are not
that are not,
certified.
but
Okay.
I'm glad we sorted out why we had the confusion.
Yeah, when you were confused about that, I was questioning it because I had the opposite kind of thought, because when I was going through the Sharp Patel, theirs was a little out of order from what the RFP was, and Martin and Starnes was one by one each point.
Well, do we want to skip it until we get the documents? Look at their explanation of the type of audit program, the next question. Audit approved.
They were pretty similar in their explanations. I just, you know, at least from my opinion, they were kind of comparable. They both explained things about the same way, how it was going to be done. If
The only
then-
issue is that there will be a transition
Mhm.
issue and burden on the staff, that you have to at least give Starnes a little bit of a heads up. And that, because part of this category did include the, you know, the burden on the team. Whether that's,
And I think I gave Martin Starnes a lower rating than the other one, just because of what they submitted.
well, it's
So I don't know if it's in the rest of the
presuming,
documents.
Well, again, I think,
we'll have to wait till we get that one
yeah.
back.
The one thing that Sharp Patel identified.
I was down on audit approach, is that what we were talking?
We're down on audit approach, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The actual organization of the audit team, again, I don't know if in the full Martin Starnes document, if they specify which people will actually be participating,
Do they?
and how much.
Very certain they did.
Yeah, again, didn't have that, so, given that, I think basically the audit approach, you know, they've kind of said the same things.
Yeah, the only thing I was referring to was the
Staff time.
assistant expected from government
Right,
staff. And that's why I would, assuming that
the descriptions were about the same. The actual descriptions of what's expected from staff was about the same.
yes.
I know, I understand, it's the going to a new firm,
Well,
and it does
New
take,
templates and all kinds of new stuff.
it does take some extra time.
But I mean, it's, you know, is it let's just say we give Starnes another 10, is it a 9, or is it I think it's maybe that's all it is, it's just,
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it does have timeliness, ability to meet stated deadline is in this one too, isn't it?
Yeah,
So, do we know that,
that's
hard to guess.
I specifically asked the question from the two municipalities I discussed, and I did go into the LGC database to see if in the past couple years, if some of the towns that they've worked with, there's been any note of a problem, and there wasn't.
Okay.
So, you know, they don't have anything for this past year because that's not in the LGC system yet, but the previous year and the year before, I assume there would be some sort of a flag if there was a problem.
Okay.
Do you recall if anywhere in here that Sharp Patel lists how many people are on their staff total? We're seeing that.
I
is it
actually,
10?
I actually went online and looked at and there were 10 listed, and I saw the note as well, remember, that they make a comment about,
I thought it referred to in there somewhere.
I
'Cause
think
read
they're-
it last night.
yeah, but I was online yesterday and I went into their website, and they had 10 professionals listed, and they do make a comment about using student help, I believe, and if this was an
I
issue,
did remember seeing that.
they should, we should highlight that.
Maybe some of you guys know better than I do on this one, but looking at their governmental clients and number of years, they've taken a lot of them on in the last 1 to 3 years, can 10 people handle all these simultaneously?
They
Knowing that
have-
they're not all simultaneous, but
They have been. I mean,
Well, I
again,
mean,
what you're
they're-
talking
they're a
about is the
startup
years,
firm.
they're a startup firm, so it makes sense that they're gonna have a number of in the last 1 to 3 years.
well, but some of them are, if they're a startup firm, then how do you have 18 and 16 and 16?
Because those were carryovers that they've worked with those towns, Sharp worked with those towns previously.
Right, but they didn't carry over anybody else,
They have a
It's,
staple.
Thank you.
My guess is no, and given what happened between the existing firm and the new firm, probably it was just as well.
Yeah, okay.
They probably lost a lot of,
Oh, this is much thicker.
My guess is that many of the municipalities, however many there were, chose not to get embroiled and just went to a totally new firm. But,
knowing how this industry works, it's like a law firm or anything else. They'll take on any new clients, and staff hours become flexible in support of. And now, in the modern age where so much is done via, laptop computers, people working from home, everything else, it's not unusual. Just back in the day, I remember some 65, 70-hour weeks I put in my early days. So that's how you,
this gives all the information.
Yeah,
That was
there's a lot
missing.
more here. Their references
The references are excellent, yeah.
are relative.
what a bigger firm.
They are a much bigger firm. Team assigned 2 to 3. Yes, they do not do specific names.
What, Patel or Stone?
No, Martin Starnes, up front, they do not say who will be on the team. So, they give how many senior managers versus other staff and the amount of time. But they don't give the specific names. And nowhere do I find that they assign or that they estimate the number of hours involved in the audit when they provide the cost, which was something else that Sharp Patel did that I thought was thorough.
Yeah. Of course, we have prior experience and familiar with.
I know, that's true. So on the audit approach, let's get that one behind us.
Who were on the people that were on the account last year in there?
No, you mean, did
They
they
don't give us
specify?
any resumes of staff-like people.
Yeah, they have, Elsa and Marcy are the two main ones that we deal with.
They had no other staff support, the people that came out and
Yeah,
did?
yeah, the staff accountants that worked under Elsa.
Right, they don't give us any of their backgrounds.
No, but I imagine there's a lot more turnover with that level
Yeah.
of position.
Imagine so too. That was the thing that I was a little startled about, that even the staff accountant at Patel, I
They said-
recall, was a CPA.
Yeah, and they said,
Meaning they've already sat for the exam.
And the
Why
top
would you-
three have masters in accounting,
I
but
saw that,
Martin Storms doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so
And
it's hard to argue about,
qualifications.
yeah.
And I noted that Sharp Patel made the point that they've had no turnover in the last 2 years. So the people who've come in, are They're there right now.
Elsa's got a master's degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the top three ones.
Yeah. At the back of this Martin Starnes, there's a whole bunch of resumes,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's masters of accounting
Yeah.
and CPAs.
Yeah, but
It's the people who'll be involved that I think Mark was referring to.
Gotcha.
On the audit approach, did we decide 10 for Martin Starnes versus 9 for,
thought so.
that there was minimal?
Are we gonna go back up to the professional certification then?
Well, yeah, the professional certification, I don't see how you can argue that, that the senior people at both firms are highly qualified.
Or not highly?
Oh, no, you can't argue that they're not highly qualified, correct, yes. Can't argue against the fact, how's that?
But even the staff levels and stuff, I think, and prior experience, I mean, they're both competent, and it isn't like there's two CPAs and a bunch of
No,
everyday
no.
bookkeepers that are involved in this stuff, and
I mean, again, I relied on the 2019 document. I gave them both full marks. That their
The only
staff is
issue
highly qualified.
I have with Sharp Patel is that in terms of the education so forth, they only gave 3 people and nobody else. So the ones who actually be digging into the town, we don't know who they are.
I thought they gave
They
a
gave who,
a
I thought?
picture, I thought there was a picture of a
Of the team.
guy in a polo shirt.
1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4
There are
people.
4 people.
Right.
Who I was shocked to see was a CPA, but that's what the,
I just thought Martin Starnes went a lot deeper, looking at the new ones we got there.
And I guess with audit approach, like Martin Starnes, they've always been timely. There's a precedence there. We know your references say they're timely, but it's just a little bit of the unknown.
yeah, even the,
So did we finish the professional one yet?
I don't know.
I don't get a vote in this, but to the timely issue, I know that there was a mention of when, one time, when Rives was doing it, that Florence was in there somewhere. While Martin Starnes, there's been 3 hurricanes since then.
Again, I would rather not bring in what happened under Reeves and Associates, because again, I think that the chaos that was going on within their firm with the allegations against some of the partners didn't help the situation. And it was 1 out of 3 years.
So which one are we still on, professional certification or audit approach?
We finished audit approach. We're back to the professional certification, education, and experience of personnel assigned to the audit. And the way I read the Sharp Patel, the 4 people that they have listed here are the people who are assigned to the audit.
Yeah, if that's the case, I don't see a
Yeah.
lot of difference between
There's,
these two.
right, I think that the people who would be assigned are comparable.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're just leaving it 10 and 10?
That's what I would do.
That's kind of how I took it, that they were both, people
Okay.
assigned will be highly qualified.
And audit approach was 10 and 9?
10 and 9.
Okay.
Did we do the references while I was out of the room? References?
References was 10 and 6.
if on the fees, I think you start with Sharp Patel at 10 and work from there.
Yeah, frankly, Martin Starnes has given a number. Okay, they've given a number, and there's really no detail behind it.
Yeah, but it's still a number, so.
No, no, I'm just saying, I'm comparing it to,
We have to understand exactly what the number is, and I think maybe with the knowledge, we have to add $2,500
to the Sharp Patel, and you have to add $3,750 to the Martin Starnes,
Yeah.
assuming there's only two. And I go back to, in 2019, the original Martin Starnes cost was $21,000. Daniel or David, do you remember what the cost of the audit was this past year? Because I know as it's gotten more complicated, it's just gotten more expensive.
I believe that it amped up like $3 or $4 grand a year. I mean, we can go look real quick, but so it had gotten up to, let's see, 24, 27,
Well, then plus a single
and
audit.
the single audit. I mean, we can go look real quick if you like at the payable, last payable, because they're paid out.
Can you look real quick?
Yeah.
Just what it cost this year?
And of course, my guess is with inflation the way it is, they built in,
They're building in 4 to 6% a year, just saying that that's their estimate.
no, but I mean, what they've just experienced over the last year and catching up, it's a matter of,
That's why I kind of wanted to know what we paid last year.
it's healthy. It's a,
And again, I made the point of asking both of the towns that I called about Sharp Patel, have they been accurate in their estimates? And their answer each time was yes, and yes over multiple years. Because I did look at it as, okay, this is a significant difference. We are looking at $15,000 a year difference. Okay.
13,000 difference.
no, we're,
Did you add the $3,750 to the Martin Starnes number for the
Yes, I have the
It's
36,975.
13?
yeah, 40 versus 27.5.
You got it, yeah.
Okay.
I'm rounding,
I was interested too that,
but what does AFIR stand for?
both our guys are gone. That's the state thing, as I recall.
In this category
for-
two, so we're supposed to take into consideration the basis of charges.
Mm-hmm.
So they were lacking Martin Starnes on really going into much detail there.
Yeah, and even the,
But their experience over the last 3 years, my guess is they didn't run, did they require a breakdown in the, when you provide a breakdown, it's almost like you're inviting potential additional costs if, for example, you require the partner to make a special presentation or something, or the like. It's almost like by putting that in, it's a double-edged kind of thing. I don't know if it's an advantage or a disadvantage, to be honest with you, because it's a contract that
Yeah, believe
and you
me.
do recall that Reeves, Pat, did try to assess an additional fee at the
oh,
end.
I clearly remember, as I said, that's why I prefer not to go back into the, because Reeves was not this firm.
Right. and you don't know that where that pressure was probably coming on and to,
I would say that the fact that,
yeah,
our
I just-
manager, the manager who was doing our audit left the firm, probably was an indication of not being very satisfied with what was going on. Again, Sharp was our manager for the audit under Reeves. I remember a lot about that last year, yeah.
Are we waiting on David to get something back?
Just, yeah, I just asked what the final numbers were for this past year to see. Because as Mark says, they may have, because of inflation, they may have done a readjustment to, there's a new number here that's the base, not just the 4 to 6%.
It looks like they're doing a 10% increase every year, Martin Starnes.
Well, they say in their document that they typically adjust by 4 to 6, but given what happens every year, you know, it can change.
but no, what she's making the point of is the gap widens as this contract goes further
Yeah,
through.
it's
It's 10%.
It's,
10%, not 4 to 6.
No,
I mean, the thing I struggle with is justifying to the commissioners premium price.
This kind of premium price, yeah.
At the, granted that we recognize they have a great working relationship, and quite frankly, the other factor that probably gets up in the other points is we never in their history ever submitted, at least in my recollection, I go back pretty far, ever had anything that was delivered on the official time. They always talk about that unofficial time on November 30th, you always got
Yeah.
that 30-day free period, but technically, the law says you have to be in by October 31st.
And we are.
We did. Oh geez, one of those years, we weren't in until February or March.
That was the year everybody was given until the end of the calendar year, but we went in 2 months late, yes.
Yeah, and,
Yeah, we went in late.
because of, and that was one of those hurricane years, I don't remember which one, but,
It was Florence, and everybody was given
I
until.
think that was also the
yeah.
year they tried to get the additional fees
Yeah,
involved.
that was a mess of a year. That was a mess of a year, there's no doubt.
But, so I mean, yeah, I mean, smooth sailing, now, but I was a little perplexed. And you gotta remember, some of these firms, I know, a lot of these, this is their bread and butter, but believe me, the grass is greener on the commercial side of the business. We used to, back in the old days in public accounting, would take these jobs as summer fillers because that was always your slow season, but now there is no slow season with all these different, everybody changed their fiscal year ends now and they may be inviting certain of their clients to leave, is what I'm saying. Because it's a pretty big gap to raise yourself from probably where they were to where this is gonna go, I think. Because if they would have come in at 27, 28, or even 30,000 now, all in, I don't think our scoring, and we could probably readily justify, hey, it's worth the extra.
Yeah. And one
I
of the.
guess it's not even that much extra, even
And-
32, 34, anything that's,
And one of the reasons their costs are lower is that they give a governmental discount.
yeah, it's not.
They,
it's not bad.
10%.
Yeah.
It's, 10% starts to, so, you know, they give a discount to government and
But if you look
nonprofit
at their base rates,
organizations.
what's the partner rate? 210.
Their rates are,
I mean, I can't, I'm going, and we're redoing our will, and I think we're at $3.50 an hour for sitting across from the lawyers. And that's a small town lawyer, you're not talking Wall Street here.
but, you know, again, I'm not gonna argue with people who have set their
No, I'm not. I'm
hourly
just-
rate at something that
I'm
is.
just saying that they're just a lean, mean, and
Small
I
firm.
think auditing is, I don't even understand how they do it these days with all the advantages that you have with automation. What it really has streamlined the whole approach, because, you know, they're requiring everything to be in an Excel format, which we can readily provide them, and they can put it in their
Yeah.
mill and do their automatic sampling and all this other kind of stuff, just, all I remember is hitting the 10 key for, when you had to foot a whole column of numbers in the old days. So,
This is a toughie. This is a toughie.
As we like to say, it's not all about the dollar. I guess that's why we have this rating system.
yeah,
Yeah, but, you know what we're really talking about is big firm versus small firm.
well,
That's what we're talking about, big firm versus small firm. Let's not fool ourselves.
yeah, I mean, we're,
Known entity, repeat audit firm.
And that's why I look at how would the board take that sort of thing, and we may not be a huge town, but there's a lot of complexities what comes with being a beach town. That the experience of a Martin Starnes, maybe the rest of the board may say, I want to pay the extra amount.
yeah, but every
For
town
what we
has,
know.
every town
No.
has water, sewer, the funds.
Storm,
They don't-
water,
they don't have
sewer,
the-
Beach
storm, they don't,
nourishment, no.
they'll have other government grants that won't be, they won't be a FEMA 27 million beach renourishment, but they'll have grants that they're, you know, having to deal with.
Yeah, and there's been so many grants that were given to cities as a result of
And
COVID.
a
that-
lot of cities have a lot of ARP money that they're gonna have to,
And there's this new money coming through now with all of this infrastructure stuff going on from the federal government support. There'll be tons of, you know, Shallotte and stuff, they'll be coming up with all kinds of projects that'll surpass the,
that's why I said two of these cities that are growing,
That's why-
Pittsburgh and Benson that are growing.
that's why
They're
they're,
gonna have stuff.
the opportunity for these things, for higher margin stuff is out there.
A real quick
Yeah.
look, sorry,
You always think you know exactly where it is until you look
and I'm
for
not
it.
sure. It is showing 25,375.
As the base?
Yeah, well, it's showing us what we paid.
Which year was
Would
that?
it
This was
include,
the latest year, the
including
last year.
one single audit?
That's what we've paid, and their audit is over, so that would have
Gosh,
included
guys.
the same audit.
That's a big
So-
increase.
That's-
But I would really like to look at the proposal that was approved in the contract, because when we were running those, I'm not sure I was grabbing the right things in near real time. In terms of, and the issue is that even though it's for the fiscal year audit, there's some of that is paid in a prior
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
So
but,
we might have missed a payment there.
A deposit?
Well, they usually do a first annual installment kind of thing, just because they say hey to you. Yeah, because I was thinking that it ramped up in increments of $3,000 and it started at 21, went to 24 and change, and then up to 28. And, I mean, I don't know if this perspective is of any value. I don't know, there's a lot of work in those single audits, and that may be reflective of what they realized once they got into it. They probably lost money with us.
Sure, but how much should they charge for it?
Yeah, you got the contract? The contract was for $25,150, and so we paid them $25,375. That was probably for the books that y'all didn't get. That was probably for our bound copies, so $25,375.
And we had one single point audit, right?
Yes, the FEMA.
Yeah, just the one. Guys, that's a big jump.
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
So, David, add the single audit on top of that 25?
No, that
No, that was
included. Included.
Oh.
That was one of them.
That we had one.
Wow, that's a 60% increase in cost then.
I guess if you were to do a comparison, you'd only add half of the 3791, because it's,
No,
they said they'll do two for 3791, everyone after that's,
is the same, is the 3750.
so I mean, if you're doing an apple to apple, you'd probably, I don't know if it's even fair to, I guess it's for one or two, so.
It's for one or two, so you're basically talking about a $15,000 increase in 1 year.
40%.
I understand it's an adjustment for what's been going on, but that is big. They've just reset their fee structure to take into account what's happened in the real world, and probably what they've had to do with salaries and stuff, I'm sure.
Well, and
So, I mean, I understand.
We got a 15% increase from our auditors this coming year. We thought that was high, but 60% is really high.
that's,
I've got problems.
All right, so we need a number. We have 10 for Sharp. What do we want for Starnes?
Well, you gotta downgrade them on the price itself.
Yeah.
Probably need to downgrade them on that percentage you just mentioned.
And the specificity provided in terms of hours and things is not there.
Right. So it's 3 downgrade marks. I'm looking like a 2 or 3.
all right.
All right, 3?
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's, I know we got the weighting and stuff going on, but I'm just wrestling with how you,
Yes.
How you work.
Even if it was my best friend that gave me a quote for a new roof and one quote's 40 and one quote's 28, is it worth an extra 12 grand out of pocket?
I'd say somewhere in the 3 to 4. If you ding 2 points per, you know,
I don't know that
minus.
there's any, I lose sense of,
Okay.
if you want to
just-
put 4, you can.
Okay,
What do we land at, 4?
4 versus 10. Other considerations, well, now that we have all of them, they both gave a,
Clearly, you got to give our existing firm 10 for sure because of their timeliness and our experience and the like, and I'm not sure we can give the same score to a new unknown.
That's the way I looked at it too.
But I don't know that you can penalize the new unknown all the way down to the lower digits either, so I'd say 6 or 8, anywhere in that range is sort of.
for other consideration.
Mhm.
Again, I did all the checking I could on timeliness. I didn't find anything that was negative. 8,
I'm okay with that.
okay.
You guys are.
Yep.
Okay, now we have to calculate the numbers, right?
All right, I got
Do you have that
59.
spreadsheet
You don't
here?
have to, I've got it.
Yeah.
Been doing it the whole time.
Okay,
You've got 82% for Martin Starnes and 89 is the percentage for Sharp Patel.
Really?
it's the fees cost at 30. Fees cost is worth 34.
Was it again 82 and 87
89.
For
to tell?
82 and 89 is
Yeah.
Patel.
What were the last two?
11, yeah.
10 and
They only
8.
have 11 minuses per my quick calculation, which is 89, so I was just looking at the gap when we downgraded them.
You had 10 and 6 for the firm municipal audit experience, right? Then 10 and 10, 10 and 6, 10 and 10,
Yeah.
10 and 9, 4 and 10, and 10 and 8.
Yeah,
Yeah, you go with the spreadsheet then.
Well, I mean, the only. So for. Oh, let's go back and, even with this weighting system, which
Yeah, that's where I.
we didn't have, the last time we did this, we didn't have a gap of, a big gap from the lowest bid to the highest bid. I think it was like about a $5,000 range. And so I'm not so sure when we were looking at weighting even that it was as, even though it was still the highest factor, it was still not as critical at that time, so.
Your raw scores, I don't think I said that, your raw scores are 64 for Martin Starnes and 59 for Sheriff Patel.
I guess it's our job just to present a recommendation to the board. That's their call after that. And, you know, they may go for the dollars, they may go for the experience. So,
I don't think that's how we expect they'll react. I mean, I think they're relying on us to do the screening and to
well,
tell
that's what I'm
them
saying,
that.
we've done all
When
that.
if we were to approve the higher bid, we would have had to have provided justification, and like I said, I think that we could have warranted it if this bid, say, would have been in the low to mid 30s. all in. Quite frankly, it probably would have swung, and we would have had to then justify to the commissioners why we were recommending them.
Well, either way, I mean, I would think, and Pat, this is you be presenting it to the board, that our numbers are now locked in there, so that's a fact. There's other considerations. You probably have 3 bullet points for each of these companies, and, you know, in all the contracts I did over the years, you know, we would get RFPs in from various Visas and MasterCards and those sort of folks. It's kind of rare we ever took the lowest one.
Yeah, I would, here's a point I'm gonna make, where our raw scores were significantly different. Okay, the firm's municipal audit experience, because Sharp Patel has significantly fewer municipalities as a new firm, they got a significantly lower score. It is not that there is municipality dissatisfaction or issues, but it's sheer numbers, okay? So, it's a fact. Is there something truly negative about it? Not really. It's a fact. It doesn't mean that things have failed anywhere. And the other one was references, reputation, review. Again, there's fewer municipalities, so they don't have an impressive list of, you can call all of these people. It's a fact. It doesn't necessarily mean there's an underlying problem, but it's just, they are not as deep in their references.
Right.
When it comes to the professional certifications, when it comes to the strength of qualifications of the people who are going to be working with the town, basically equal is what we said. We're not seeing that there is a big difference in the qualifications of the people who will be working on our audit. The audit approaches that were given were basically the same. We're not saying that they have deficiencies in how they approach the audit, how they do things. So it comes down to the cost, and frankly, again, I think Sharp Patel was more specific in how they arrived at their cost estimates.
Let me ask something, Mark, you brought this up about all the technology that they have. I don't remember reading what system they use or anything like that. That would make a big difference if one's got, you know, the cream of the crop and the other's got a
I think pretty much
homemade.
the evolution of the software, I assume, is just like tax software and everything else now, is just so much simplified.
So there's not much differential in what firm
I-
A versus firm Z has?
I can't imagine that one firm, they all have their techniques about how they go about doing an audit and how they learn to audit. And my day, it was how you found your work papers. And Price Waterhouse had these little clips in the corner, and we had the 3 holes on the side. I mean, that was, and trunks, we would haul trunks. You don't see people walking in with trunks even at IBM today, you know, like we used to have to do in the old days. So it's just a different world. And despite all that, I still can't envision how these firms can do, and even Martin Starnes can do $40,000 for what is involved to prepare a multitude of information that you see there. And
Well, ever since I got on there, I've been shocked at the price. I thought it'd be much higher.
Right.
yeah, so,
And maybe our weighting, did we, like you said, I don't always choose the lowest cost either, even for my home, but in business, you know, definitely. Is our weighting too high to put 30 for fee and cost? I don't know.
I don't know how you could rate it any less.
Okay. Okay.
In fact, I think, had we had gaps this wide before, we might have had a higher weighting on that, as much as 50%. But quite frankly, I think when we were looking, we didn't have that big of a gap between it. It was like 20 to 24. I think we did have one that was down in the teens, but we excluded them because that was the firm that failed to report that they had that, Woody dug up something,
I remember that, yeah.
You know,
so,
again, I'm looking at it as the important things that we need to understand is the qualifications of the people that will be doing the work, their experience level and their qualifications. They're good, both firms. The approach to the audit, they're essentially the same, both good. The things that we downgraded, Sharp Patel, is in large part because of their size and their newness, so they don't have the depth of references. They don't have as many municipalities. They're a growing firm. So are you going to base your judgment on that? That, again, it's big firm, small firm, established firm, growing, new firm, but good qualifications of the people who are gonna be here? And then you do go to cost, and I agree, you don't do it just based on cost, but this is a big cost difference. And again, a not as thorough explanation by Martin Starnes how that number is calculated.
David, would it be unusual for us to ask for their liability insurance, which they claim they have? Do we get that automatically, or?
They said they have it and they will provide it if they,
I would ask, or at least add, that I think it would be worth our attention to make sure that we have a copy and that we're attached as in the event of this litigation, should it impact the nature of the firm and they disappear on us in the middle of it, I would like to be able to go back against their insurance company for some damages.
As a contractual matter, or as an
Yeah, as
additional
part- as part of the
consideration?
contract, if we were to go through with this, just ask for copies of their insurances and that we could be listed as if we could be listed as whatever you call it, as
Named insured.
an additional insurer. Doesn't hurt.
And Sharp Patel, they talk about insurance on page 11, but it doesn't give dollar values.
all it says is if awarded the contract, we would be glad to provide a COI.
Okay. That's why you always ask for the workers' comp when you got guys climbing on the roof.
What's our recommendation gonna be, folks? Here's what I have written as the preamble. 2 firms were evaluated by the THB Audit Committee for suitability to be contracted to perform the external audits of the town's financial statements for fiscal years 22-23, 23-24, and 24-25. The qualifications of Martin Starnes and Associates, CPAs, PA, and Sharp Patel, CPA, were measured using the RFP scoring tool developed by a previous audit committee. Based upon the scoring tool evaluations, the audit committee recommends that the BOC authorize the town manager to contract with, to be filled in at the meeting,
Very quickly.
okay?
Should we include the amount of the quotes as part of this?
The commissioners will get copies of these, as I
Okay.
recall.
Okay.
Don't the commissioners,
We'll get,
yeah.
we'll provide copies. of
Yeah,
that.
the commissioners will get full copy. Sorry. Again, I did wonder why we only got
Let me
8
go check
pages.
a document real quick.
It's very strange, but I wasn't the only, yeah. So we will get all of this, okay? Whether all 5 commissioners
Read it all.
all of them is always, but they will have it.
Well, according to the scoring, Sharp wins. Unless anybody wants to discuss weighting.
We need a motion?
We can do it by consensus. If consensus is that we provide the recommendation to the board for Sharp Patel. Does anybody disagree, strongly disagree that this is a good idea? It's not just, again, I don't think it's just a number count. It's, are qualified people going to reliably work with the town at a reasonable price that you feel is secure? Neither of them say that it's no greater than. Neither of them say it's no more than, it's guaranteed to be no more than. But, they each talk about the costs if you need additional work. Sharp.
I will say, if you had not called those towns, I would have voted for Martin Starr.
That's why I called the towns.
I'm glad you did.
I want to call these towns and find out. So,
And they're very close, and it's hard to pick anything over, except it'd be hard to go to the board and say, well, this one's way under the other one, but they're equal. So,
Do
Or
we-
you didn't really say that.
and one's
before, but
the
they're-
devil you know.
in
but-
the important aspects of qualifications and approach to the audit, they are equal. In terms of cost, there is a significant difference. And again, to me, the other two areas where we rightfully give Sharp Patel lower scores are of the nature of a small and new firm that's growing. That's why I called.
All right.
Well, and the good relationship we had with the other
I,
really factored into some of those.
mm-hmm,
I mean, they're a known commodity.
They are.
And we built that into the scoring, but it's
Mhm.
just,
are we agreed to recommend to the board Sharp Patel?
I am.
Yeah.
I am, yes?
Yes.
Will we provide them with our scoring? I don't remember if you did last time.
I don't know if we did or not, but I mean, are they, if we were recommending a higher bid, then I think we'd almost be obliged to go and show how we came to that conclusion.
I think we did last time, because they mentioned, my memory serves me right, in the minutes about how the committee went through this scoring structure, and somebody explained it to them.
Okay.
Okay, then I guess we will provide the, so I can add a sentence that the results of the scoring tool are included, are provided. Okay.
But to making sure we state this is a relative tool, if we were to compare Martin Starnes to Price Waterhouse and Company, they may not have been a 10.
And again, it will be up to the board whether or not they take the recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a lot more difficult than anticipated.
Guys,
Um,
redoing our data.
Okay.
They didn't have.
Under any other business, I'd like to raise the point that our alternate has missed 3 meetings in a row. And as such, according to our ordinance, loses status. So we agree that we should seek a new alternate.